Are you wondering what are going to be the best day one decks for Sebastian Shaw? We've got those, and check out the one at the end, or the last one that we've got. It's definitely going to be bonkers. And should you be buying the season pass specifically for Sebastian Shaw? We typically do these for spotlights, a little bit of a different twist when we get the season pass on there. We're going to talk about both of those things. We're going to share what we think is probably the biggest keys with the card and some of these decks, and where you're going to really want to play them, including some alternate cards that you could either put in or out of the decks. So let's dive in. So as always with these, we always want to start with the card. We've talked about this a lot. You've probably seen it, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. Sebastian Shaw, it is a 3/4. When this card permanently gains power, gain +2 more power wherever this is. So I mentioned in a video the other day, Blue Marvel, ongoing cards are not going to do that. It's got to be stuff like Nova, Koei, Neg Surfer, things along those lines where he actually gains permanent power, even though, I mean, what is permanent in the game, right? Because you can take power away with Shadow King, etc. But either way, that's the type of thing you're going to be looking for. Don't plan for stuff like I said, Blue Marvel. That's not going to do it for you, okay? So that's the card, and because of that, you were really going to think about decks that gain power with this. And I want to shout out Vigo and Nico, who we were talking on Twitch the other day about all the decks we're going to look at, talking back and forth a little bit. One of the decks they came up with 100% by themselves, and I'll give a specific shout out for that one. And the link to my Twitch account is in the description below if you want to go check that out. I stream on occasion. I also have a Discord listed in the description below. I link anytime I'm going to go live. So if you want to know, that's where you find out. Every once in a while, I post it on Twitter as well. So let's get to our first deck. And as always, I want to give a giant shout out to Marvel Snap Zone. I love using their tool builder to build these decks. Obviously, there's going to be some avenues to do this in other ways, but I like doing it sort of by myself, thinking, what do I want to build here? Filtering for cards. I think it's really great. So shout out to them. Definitely go check out their website. All right, so first one. Look, everyone's going to be talking about Surfer Shaw. There are going to be a variety of ways to put together Surfer decks. You're going to see a few different ones in this video, but we try to focus not just Surfer. We try to incorporate another aspect of Surfer that might be tied in well with it. Negative Surfer, spoiler a little bit, but some other ones similar to that. So this regular Surfer Shaw deck here, obviously with Surfer, you're going to want to have 3s. So here we've got Neg, Brood, Sebastian Shaw, Killmonger, and Storm. We like all of those 3s. Storm helps us with the situation with potentially a Shaw or a Brood where you can sort of lock down the lane and feed points to it later. Anytime we're talking about permanent point feeds, obviously we have Forge, we have Nova. So because Killmonger is a 3, it helps with the Nova. So those cards go hand in hand with a card like Sebastian Shaw. I love Forge in this too because you can forge your Brood, which is fantastic, and then you absorb him in potentially right after that, which isn't going to gain benefits necessarily from the Surfer, but it is a really strong card after that where you've got, you know, a 412. So it's pretty good. I like Nico still because I think she's another card. While it's not a lot of chance to get into Sebastian Shaw, it is an opportunity to give him some additional points. And frankly, I just really like Nico. And maybe you don't pull Killmonger and you do get that destroy the next card type situation. You can use Nico to do that for either Nova or even Forge to make sure that you've got the board space. You could even do it with Okoye, or maybe you even want to double up your Okoye, or you want to double up your Neg and get or you want to double up your Shaw. All these type of things, I think Nico plays a really pivotal role. I love it. Obviously, Surfer goes in this. And, you know, we got America Chavez. Cards you want to take out, I mean, maybe Nico, I'd say I could see that. Okoye, maybe. And then just really any sort of Surfer card you'd want to bring in. I think that's where you'd really want to look in this one. I'm not going to go through all of those. We'll talk a little bit about some of those at the end, but that's your general Surfer Shaw deck. The next one, this one's the one I want to give a specific shout out to Vigo for. He came up with his deck all by himself. We were talking about Lockdown, arguing about Goose and Jeff and all these different things. So we end up with both Goose and Jeff in this one. We've got Storm. So we've got a number of ways to lock down certain aspects of decks. We've got Juggernaut to move things around a little bit. And then you've got Surfer again. You've got the Nova Killmonger synergy that plays well together and obviously does well with the Shaw. Forge, again, you've got Brood, you've got Shaw that you want to build into that. And you also could even play it into the Eliath. It's pretty solid. And then you've got Doom there to help get to those lanes that you potentially lock down or can't get a 6 card in like with a Goose. So I think this is actually a decent Shaw lockdown deck. I call it Shaw Lock Doom. I think this could do some decent damage. Is the other lockdown decks maybe a little better? Maybe. We'll see. But I do like this, and I think Shaw gives you another opportunity to get some big points on the board in a lockdown situation with a pretty low-cost card that can build up. So I definitely like this one. Cards that you might want to think about taking out: Eliath, maybe Juggernaut. If you're going to think about putting something in, again, America Chavez, she's solid. Do like her. So again, and then anytime you're thinking about Surfer, you could bring in a number of cards with Surfer, and we'll go over some of those a little bit at the end. Next up, we've got Neg Surfer Shaw. I love Neg Surfer decks. I have a Neg Surfer Scroll deck that I love to play. I did not put the Super Scroll into this one. Certainly a card you could put in here if you want. I mean, we'll talk about the ones we take out in a second, but it depends on how much ongoing's going out there. So with this one, Ravana Renslayer and Zabu are your ramp cards. They're going to help you get to Mr. Negative a little bit earlier. I also like that your Zabu gets either Mr. Negative and or Wong, so it gives you a 2-banger there. You could potentially take Zabu out if you want and maybe do another ramp card. I don't know. I mean, you need 2 ramp cards in my opinion, but Ravana is going to help you with Mystique. It's going to help you with Ironheart. It's going to help you with Mr. Negative. It's going to help you with White Tiger. So I love that synergy. And you've got your Mystique to potentially copy. I guess you could do Zabu. I don't love that one necessarily, but you could do it with your Ravana and you could do it with your Wong. Now we're going to get to Wong in a second. Brood is here because, again, we're playing Surfer. I like it. Crystal is here because we're playing Mr. Negative. Save Crystal until after you get your Mr. Negative. It gives you the ability to get an additional card out there that you're going to be able to play. We've talked about Mystique a little bit. She can copy, like I said, a multitude of cards there. We've got Surfer, Shaw, Magic to potentially extend the game. Ironheart because Shaw, and let's talk about Wong, Mystique, Ironheart, and potentially hitting Shaw multiple times. Are you kidding me? That thing could really do well. So every time it hits Shaw, that could get seriously big, and I absolutely love trying to do that. Certainly RNG to it, but there's some aspects there you could get some really good opportunities on. We talked about Magic, just extending the game. Ironheart, for what I just said, Mr. Negative to get the deck. White Tiger's the other card that I really like here, that especially if you get some Wong and stuff going, you just drop those 8 Tigers around. I think it could be a lot of fun. Cards that you'd want to take out of this, I think probably I would look at Magic first. I think that, maybe you don't necessarily need to extend the game, but I always like potentially doing that just to be sure. But I will say sometimes with Crystal, you do have the opportunity where you're like, you don't even have any cards left anyway, so you don't need Magic, but it can come in handy. So, and then I would consider putting in cards like Odin. I would consider putting in cards like Absorbing Man. And again, America Chavez. I think she's solid, right? So Odin, even though it would be a 6/6, you proc some of these things again over and over. I mean, Ironheart, White Tiger, it can get pretty funky. So I very much like that. Now going into the next deck, we've got 2 more left. Some of these I have it was hilarious. I was on Twitch. I just kept showing blah, blah, blah. I have marbles in my mouth. Shaw, Sera Surfer. Shaw, Sera Surfer. Shaw, Sera Surfer. So again, another Surfer deck. This time we're leaning into the Sera build. There's some ones that I definitely think that you could take out here, but I wanted to try to ramp into Sera. And we've got Psylocke and Wave to help try to ramp into that. Wave is a little bit risky now because you could help your opponent bring in a card earlier. So you might need to decide whether you want to take that one out for something else. But again, how much do you want to ramp into that Sera, if at all? Again, Forge we've got, Nova we've got, which means we've got Killmonger, Nico we mentioned earlier, Psylocke is the ramp card. Brood again because we're surfing. Surfer, Nakia for that Shaw and that Surfer. Wave we talked about getting for Sera to ramp in a little bit earlier. Obviously, we're going to have Sebastian Shaw and, of course, America Chavez. I'm a little torn on this one. I think I like some of the other ones and this last one definitely better. But if you're going to take some cards out, like I mentioned, I think Wave you maybe take out. I'm also not shown Cosmo a lot in this. I typically don't want to throw him in these on reveal heavy decks. It is a possibility if you're a little worried about your Shaw, maybe getting like Shadow King or something like that. Or if you're really good at getting points on it, maybe even your Shang-Chi, you don't want him to get him destroyed. So I would maybe look at that, but either way, again, any 3-cost Surfer type card. All right, now for my favorite deck, ShaWong. I absolutely love this deck. Why? I don't know. I just think it's a bunch of crazy reveals with it, and I think it could do a lot of good stuff. So again, a lot of these cards we've already talked about and had in here. We don't have any negatives, but we've got Ravana, to help us get Wolfsbane cheaper, Ironheart cheaper, Mystique cheaper, and White Tiger cheaper. We've got the Killmonger Nova combo to help with Shaw and really any other card on the board. We've got a Koi to help with whatever's in your deck to get potentially more power. Obviously, Shaw is the ideal target there. Wolfsbane, it's a 3. We've got our Surfer, but also we've got our Wong and potentially Mystique, so you get that thing a little bit bigger. I just like Wolfsbane on reveals. Ironheart, we talked about her earlier. She's just going to proc anytime you got Wong and potentially Mystique. You want to sweep those, right? You just want to keep sweeping those as much as you can. Shaw is the main card. We've talked about what he does. You want to build that power. Now, Mystique, obviously, I think you probably might want to try to focus Wong a little bit, but sometimes you might not want to do that. Maybe you want to do Ravana, then Mystique, and get a bunch more of these cards even cheaper and just Wong them, right? So think that over if you might want to do that. You could replace her if you really want, but man, I want to get ShaWonged in this, right? Oh my God, I'm going to say that forever. Silver Surfer, obviously. Nakia, maybe save that for getting Wonged, right? You get Wong out there. And now, again, Zabu, maybe put that in here for something else as well. Do you want to get rid of Killmonger or Nova? I don't know. We'll think about that. And then obviously Wong, and then again, White Tiger. I've never recommended White Tiger ever. And I've got her like, what, 3 times in this video? Twice at least. But I don't know. This is probably the deck that I'm going to try first and see if I can sort of harness something with this. I think it's likely going to be the most fun. The ones that I would take out, again, Okoye, maybe Wolfsbane, America Chavez, I'd look at. You know, maybe even the Zabu, I'd think about putting in here to maybe get that Wong in earlier in case you want to really have a better opportunity for Mystiquing that thing. And I mean, you go Wong, Mystique, Okoye. I mean, this is going to get pretty nuts pretty quick. So I absolutely love what's happening here. Again, this is the deck I wanted to end with because I thought it would be the most fun. Now, we wanted to talk about the biggest keys with this card and these decks. A lot of different decks here, and we're just going to click on this one here to have the card up. A lot of Surfer focus. I thought about Destroy, talked about it on the Twitch stream. I personally couldn't bring myself to put Shaw in the Destroy decks because I just thought if I'm going to go Destroy, I'm not sure that Shaw is going to be the card that I'm going to really want to put in them. I think I just kept thinking there's going to be a different option that I like better. So, but that is certainly an opportunity. Now, let me know what decks you think Shaw can fit for really well. Comment below. Would love to hear from you. Now, again, the keys for this guy are a little bit straightforward. I mean, you want to try and time those point gains. You really want to think about whether it's Nakia, your Nova, your Okoye, whatever it might be. I mean, even an early Ironheart to make sure that he gets the points, right? Something along those lines. It's not a bad move. That's the thing you need to think about. It's just how you're going to incorporate those point gains, because if you're not incorporating those well and you're just like, oh, cool, I've got a Shaw and I'm doing surfing, you're not building your deck up high enough, Shaw's going to feel a little flat for you. And I think that he's got a lot of potential. So think about how you're going to play those. And so that way you can maximize the benefit. And I think if you get really good at building him up, you're going to have to look at potentially protecting him with a Cosmo and or armor. Now, depends how good you get at building them, right? Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Surfer cards. The one that I really wanted to mention before getting out of here was Mobius. Just now, could you put him in almost any of these? Probably. You know, I maybe not put him in the lockdown one, but I would look at, I mean, he could even fit in the negative, right? But if Loki still is out there as strong as Loki is, I would heavily consider putting Mobius in some of these decks. There's a ton of other, I mean, shoot, even Gladiator. I can't say I wrote a list of some other ones. I mean, Groot, you could do some, especially getting some additional points. I liked a lot. I mean, Iron Lad for some of these would even work as well, because Iron Lad's a really good card. You get some on reveal extras, that would be great. I mean, an extra Nakia, whatever it might be, especially in any deck that you might think about having Zabu. I think it's fantastic. So let me know what your thoughts are. What decks are you going to use? Are you going to buy the season pass because of this? In summation, I'm going to conclude season pass is always worth it. Always. I'm going to say this in every single one of these videos. I think Sebastian Shaw is a really solid and potentially pretty strong season pass card. It's not quite like some of the ones we've gotten recently that were just super OP, like Elsa, but I think that Sebastian Shaw is a decent to top tier-ish season pass. And the season pass is worth it regardless. So I would highly recommend spending $10 US to get the season pass. Shaw is going to be a secondary benefit. I think some of these decks are going to be the best, like I mentioned. Comment below. That's pretty much all I got for now. So until next time, we hope you have a wonderful day.